Early morning hours of June 26, 2022, several cameras located around the streets of Ilford, northeast London, captured the ominous actions of Jordan McSweeney. After multiple failed attempts to follow his targets, Jordan set his sights on Zara Alina, and what followed was nothing short of a nightmare. But who was Zara Alina? Why was this terrible man following her? And what happened after?
He was drunk out of his mind as well.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, folks. My name is Adrian, and welcome back to Coffee House Crime. Today we're looking at the case of Zara Alina. Now, this story is something straight out of a horror movie. There are no words to describe the sentences of this case, or to describe our killer. By the way, I post true crime and strange cases here on a weekly basis, so if that does sound like your kind of thing, please consider subscribing to the channel.
Subscribe to me as well, please. Subscribe to me as well. Yeah. So subscribe to me.
It really does help me out. And now, with that said, please grab yourself a coffee, pull up a seat, and get ready for the deep dive. This is the case of Zara Alina.
Zara Alina? R.I.P. man. I know something to do some dumbass drunk and some drunk shit.
Welcome back to London, folks. Today, we set our sights on the northeastern corner of the city, in a large town named Ilford. Found 9 miles away from central London, Ilford has always remained part of modern London's rich and turbulent history. The town rapidly expanded in the 1940s after the central tube line service was expanded into Newbury Park. And thus, its population peaked in the year 1951 at 185,000 residents. Of course, this was just after World War II, where Ilford became an instrumental town to the country's military. During this time, it manufactured components and equipment for the war, including shell-years. It also serves as the... And this is pertinent when it comes to Mediterranean, Turkish and grill. Zara was described as the carefree spirit with the most caring heart. She was born in the winter of 1986, having grown up in the area. Her grandparents had moved from Pakistan in the year 1968 and eventually had 5 children. As the first child to her mother, a single parent, Alina was blessed to be raised by multiple generations in the household. They gave her all the love, support and education she needed. This included many trips around England to museums and galleries, and eventually across Europe too. Much like the rest of her family, she became an avid traveller. She loved adventure and always wanted to experience new things. As a child, she was happy, excitable, sociable, interested in almost everything around her, and always seemed full of energy. She took up ballet, tap dancing,
I'm full of energy, nigga.
and dressing up, and was especially gifted in ice skating. Zara always knew what she wanted to be, even from a very young age. And at the age of 5, she said she wanted to become a lawyer. And you know, that aspiration became a reality. According to her family, nobody worked as hard as she did. And not only had she become a law graduate, but she also supported refugees fleeing violence and was working towards becoming a fully qualified solicitor. To add to this, Zara also volunteered in soup kitchens to help refugees and the homeless. She had great empathy for people less fortunate, and something Nero would greatly appreciate, but she was a massive lover of cats too. Alongside all of this, she also cared for her mother and grandmother, ensuring they had food, medication and company. Put short, folks, Zara did very much good for the world. Moving into the year 2022, Zara had completed a legal practice course to finally practice as a solicitor. She had just started working for the Royal Courts of Justice, keen to complete a 2-year work placement in order to become a fully qualified solicitor.
That's crazy.
We're moving to the evening of June 26, 2022. It was a warm evening here in the UK, with temperatures reaching 20 degrees Celsius or 68 Fahrenheit. Zara arranged to meet a friend at a local pub named the Great Spoon of Ilford, and after having dinner and a drink or two, the two moved on to another bar in the local area. With midnight fast approaching, Zara decided to keep the evening clean, deciding to drink water instead of alcohol and focusing on the conversation as the evening's main highlight. Spending the Sunday evening with her friend, she had done absolutely nothing wrong. She was simply a happy, healthy young woman living her best life in London. However, while all of this was happening, more sinister events were simultaneously taking place. Unfortunately, as much as I don't want to, this is where we have to bring the video's attention to the man named Jordan McSweeney. Jordan has to be one of the most unlikable characters I've come across. I usually bite my tongue and keep my opinions to myself, but this has to be said. The man is a total psychopath and a complete narcissist. Gym selfies aside, Jordan was a meathead. He
I
liked
go to
going up
the
and
gym as
punching,
well.
often got in
on.
fights, and the women around him
Muscle
usually
man.
avoided him. 29 years old at the time of this story taking place,
Damn.
Jordan already had
Pushing
28
30.
convictions under his name, for a grand total of 69 crimes that dated back to the year 2006. These crimes range from racially motivated offences, driving
And you walk the
offences,
streets.
and assaulting police to battery and assault causing
hell.
bodily harm. He began his criminal career as a teenager, which may be a sign of the dysfunctional family that he once endured. Unfortunately, Jordan suffered violence and sexual abuse as a child, though nothing he was deprived of in terms of love, boundaries, or safety could begin to justify his actions and attitudes as an adult. Facing prison was no deterrent for the man, because, put quite simply, he grew up in it, and prison was his home for most of his young adult years.
So my reason why I started working online is quite simple. I was working as a carpenter. I don't have a sob story.
On June the 17th, 2022, Jordan was released from custody after serving a portion of his sentence. And 4 days later, he went to live with a friend in his caravan, which was found in a fun fair in Valentine Park in Ilford. Jordan was obligated to attend appointments with the probation
fuck
officer as
happened to
part of
him,
his
bro?
release. However, as you can likely imagine, he
face?
failed to do such a thing. As he would have been told multiple times, breach of this condition would lead to his arrest and return to prison. This led to his license being revoked on June the 24th. However, as you can see, he was still prowling the town 2 days later. Jordan had spent most of his Saturday night getting plastered at the Great Spoon in Ilford. He spent most of his time here pestering women, getting into arguments, and eventually got kicked out at 11 PM after
wrong with my
harassing a
man?
female member of staff. After walking north in the direction of Cranbrook Road, Jordan began his hunt for a victim. Now, this is where our story
How
begins
you
to
walking
get
on the
dark.
road?
Mind you, this was
I would've
only
licked
after
him down. Are
almost
you
getting hit
crazy
in the
if you're
face
walking
by a
around like
bus.
that?
As you can see in this footage, he was,
I would've
what us
lit-
British would
jump-
say, completely
flying.
off his tits. And just after almost getting hit by this bus, he almost had a fatal encounter with a car. Shortly after midnight, a surveillance camera caught him stalking this unknown woman. With his clear lack of composure and shamefully drunk behavior, she noticed that she was being followed. Running into a nearby shop, she hoped that she would lose him. But after following her inside, Jordan left the shop to wait around the corner for her. After cautiously exiting, she left the shop to the right, where once again he followed closely behind. The woman sprinted away down the side street, yet still, Jordan followed her with a stride. Thankfully, after 21 minutes of being stalked, she was able to outrun him. But this didn't stop Jordan,
Get a
because
life, go
instead
home.
he decided to find a new
What the
target.
fuck?
Jordan wandered the streets for a whole extra hour, getting into various short altercations with women, all who rebuffed his actions. At 1:56 AM, he found his next target. He followed her into Northbrook Road and beyond over the course of several minutes. Interesting side note, but 2 other men on the opposite side of the road became aware of this, but did nothing to intervene.
Wow.
Now, thankfully, shortly after 2 AM, she became aware of his presence, gazing up at him as he almost walked into a lamppost opposite the road. Although not captured on camera, Jordan then overtook her and turned into one of the houses in the nearby street. It is believed that he was waiting to surprise and grab her, though luckily she happened to be making her way to a house on the opposite side of the road and was able to enter it safely.
Good.
Although these 2 women were very
Wow,
lucky
bro.
to escape, it sadly wouldn't be the same for Zara Alina, who, at the time, was leaving the Champs Sports Bar on Chapel Road nearby. Because she lived nearby, Zara decided to walk instead of get a taxi. And so, after saying goodbye to her friend, she made the short journey back towards her home. However, a few moments later, she would tragically cross paths with Jordan McSweeney, and this would prove to be a fatal coincidence, because she was selected as his next target. Jordan followed her for some distance, getting to within a few meters of Zara until she reached a house on Cranbrook Road. The property had an expansive paved front garden and a driveway. Out of respect and not going into the details, it is here that he sexually assaulted her. She
Fuck
was
that.
rendered unconscious,
Bro,
beaten
is that-
to within an inch of her life. Over the space of
Beaten?
9 minutes, he then left her body to return twice, and in all 3 instances, he stamped on her numerous times.
Fuck
He
off. Fuck off. Fuck off. Fuck the police. Fuck. I blame the police for this. The justice system is shit. Are you crazy? Why are you stamping on her? What's the point of all this shit? So you stamp on her, you sexually assault her, and then what? Because of what? What did she do to you? I don't get guys that do this shit. It pisses me off. I don't get guys that do this type of shit. What's the point of you doing all that shit for? What do you gain from this? I don't know what you idiots, you dickhead youths that go around fucking touching girls when you're drunk, you can't. Bro, I don't get this shit, bro. It pisses me. Why are you stamping on her? Why are you even touching her? Why are you even near her, bro? Go home. Why do you need to be drunk outside doing this type of shit to girls? And then that's why girls are always afraid to go home at night because of dickheads like you pagan. Yeah, that's cool.
Then carried away her phone, keys, purse, leggings, and underwear, all of which would be later found abandoned nearby. Jordan then tried to make his way back home discreetly, but was captured by over a dozen cameras in doing so. This included him scaling a locked gate, before walking around a well-guarded boathouse and lake. At 2:38 AM, a camera captured him walking towards the fairground he was staying in. Arriving at 2:47 AM, he briskly walked across the grounds, trying to avoid any attention. The following day, Jordan was spotted by another camera at the fairground, where he then disposed of his bloody clothes in a bin near the ticket office.
That's disgusting.
Zara was found a short while later by a group of 4 strangers. They immediately called an ambulance, where paramedics tried to treat her fatal injuries. A helicopter raged above, trying to find her attacker. Despite everything being done in their power to save her, Zara tragically passed away at 10 AM after 5 hours of intense surgery. Sadly, too much damage had been caused. The list of pain is extensive, as sadly she had suffered 46 separate injuries, including severe blunt force trauma, lacerations, and bruising. Now, during the assault, Jordan had used a balustrade to attack Zara, stupidly leaving his fingerprints behind. And thankfully, those fingerprints were already in the police database. And on June 27th, only 37 hours after his terrible actions, the man was arrested in his fairground caravan.
Jordan.
I said how he had the
Jordan. Jordan McSweeney.
Still appearing entirely inebriated, Jordan failed to respond to his name being called numerous times. The lights were on, but no one was home.
You're under arrest for rape and murder of a female at Cranbrook Road, okay, on the 26th of June 2022 in the early hours of the morning. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may
That's messed up, bro. That's messed up.
Stand up.
I wouldn't even hold him. I would pick him up and dash him.
Right, okay.
You look strong. Look at him.
Come forward. Just going to search you now, right?
Look at him.
As you will be aware, we are investigating the tragic murder of a woman in Ilford in the early hours of yesterday morning. I can confirm that pending formal identification that we believe the victim to be a local 36-year-old woman named Zara Alina.
36.
Resources from across the Met are being drawn upon to help us identify whoever is responsible, and the murder investigation is developing quickly. Our priority is to catch the perpetrator as soon as possible, and for that reason there are some aspects of the investigation that I won't be commenting on, and I will not be taking any questions. There will be further information that we release to the press and the public as soon as possible. We are keeping Zara's family up to date with our progress, and my heartfelt condolences are with them at this terrible time. They are being supported by specialist officers, but I cannot imagine the pain that they must be feeling right now.
Zara's family and friends were distraught to discover she had passed away. There was no warning or prior cause for concern. She had been taken from them in an instant. Much like in an instant, their worlds were placed upside down. A post-mortem revealed that Zara had died of a traumatic brain injury, prolonged neck compression, and blood loss. And of course, the details were too much for many to bear. Evidence left behind on Jordan highlighted that she had fought back hard, but with his height, weight, and strength, she realistically stood little chance. The public reaction to this case was strong. Dozens of flowers and candles were placed where she'd been attacked, and the movement Million Women Rise backed Zara in full spirit. Her murder sparked national outrage, though arguably not enough, as other cases such as Sarah Everard and Gabby Petito received a much louder voice. Still, hundreds took to the streets to demonstrate their support, and as the details of her killer became public knowledge, came a growing demand for justice.
Zara is the latest name to be added to a list of women who have been attacked and tragically lost their lives.
We have to have a conversation
He's even on ITV
with
News.
men,
Damn.
with leaders, with our government, with educators. We need to have
I
a
don't
conversation.
think this type of shit is ever
about
going to
what
stop,
we're
man.
going
Guys
to
are just
do.
too weird
This
and
is about
horny and
changing
drunk
the
and just
mindset.
deluded to stop this type
Zara
of shit,
believed
man.
women should be allowed to walk the streets and feel safe. Her family
I don't know why
are
guys are
now
like that.
determined to make
It's
that
just
her
stupid to me,
legacy.
especially in the UK as well. This is dumb to me why guys are like this.
Well, tomorrow vigil is due to take
What's the point of
place
you doing
here
all
at
of
the
this?
scene
Why
in her
why do you
memory.
even kill her?
People will be
Why do you even
retracing
touch her? Why are you
final
even
steps
there?
in the hope that it
I've been
encourages
drunk many
witnesses
times.
to
Have
come
you ever seen
forward.
me go
Today, a
to a woman I didn't
29-year-old
know,
man
man?
appeared in
I go
court
home.
charged with her murder.
Because I'm
He was
stable,
back
I'm
in
mentally
court in
stable. He's not
September.
mentally stable.
To add to the
deluded.
mountain of evidence already placed against Jordan, police officers would soon find
Where's the guy? What the
blood-stained
fuck?
shoes and jeans in the caravan park. And if that wasn't enough already, they would soon learn that the entire assault against Zara had been recorded by a neighbour's security camera. It remained clear throughout all surveillance footage that he held no care, no regret.
I'm sorry. A latte is £4.75. Are you crazy? You think I'm ever paying £4.75 for a latte? Are you stupid? Where's I'm paying £3 from? Coffee, £3? No, this fucking, what's it? Inflation's crazy. Pour over £4, £3 for a coffee. You're crazy.
And no contrition to his terrible actions. But now, the judge and jury would have to decide. After his arrest and arriving at the police station, Jordan claimed that he was on medication for ADHD and also suffered from split personality disorder. He also claimed
get
that
him
he'd
on
been
the street.
bitten by a dog, but refused treatment from medics. And in addition to this, he began to threaten all officers at the station. To add to his obscene levels of audacity, when questioned about the murder, he yawned loudly and told the officers that they were boring him. His behaviour was not acute from drugs or drinking either. In 3 separate interviews conducted over the following days and months, he expressed complete disrespect for the situation. Put short, the man simply didn't care. Moving into the legal proceedings of this case, Jordan McSweeney had at least one slither of respect for his victim. He pleaded guilty to the assault and murder of Zara Alina, and in exchange for his guilty plea, his case would not go to trial. But Jordan wouldn't go down without causing more grief and disgust
picture
to
looks
all of
nothing
those
like him.
involved. Not wanting to revisit the events he was responsible for, he refused to be present for his own sentencing. The judge remarked that, although there was no sign of planning or premeditation for murder, Jordan sought a vulnerable woman to attack. Now, let's not forget that Jordan had been in trouble with the law before too, and although this was his first conviction of a sexual nature, he had already been in trouble for violent behaviour. This included violence to previous partners throughout the last 12 years, and many disturbances while in prison. Although Jordan claimed to have ADHD and a personality disorder, no psychiatric report was ever produced for him, as he never requested one. However, it was noted that he was someone who struggled in the community, and had genuine difficulty in making and maintaining a healthy social life and relationships. The judge further remarked that his antisocial upbringing and the abuse he suffered as a child held no real excuse for his terrible crimes, and he bears full responsibility for his actions. As such, Jordan McSweeney was sentenced to life imprisonment, a mandatory term here in the United Kingdom, with a minimum term of 38 years behind bars. During his sentencing, the judge said, "The defendant's decision not to come up from the cells to court to hear the devastating impact of his crime shows that the man who took Zara Alina's life has no spine whatsoever." To further add salt to the wound, it was considered that the time Jordan had served between his arrest and sentencing was considered to be for his previous offence, meaning his minimum sentence of 38 years began on December the 14th, 2022. This means that the earliest time he can ever see the light of day again will be in the year 2060.
2016.
Flora plant.
What?
Skip the cow.
Wait, what? 2060. Okay. That makes more sense. 2060, not 2016. Because I thought it was 2016, but it's 2060. Bitch, I was like, look, fuck you. This is what happens. This is why girls are afraid to go out at night, because the dickheads like, you pagan. You pagan!